Well, the catalyst to start weight loss was the fact that I just felt so damn awful. And I knew common sense dictates that if you weigh, you know, nearly 200 kilos, then there's something drastically wrong and your life's going to be, significantly shortened. Very few people are ever really hungry. We eat because we want to put something in our mouths and chew on it, and it's some sort of gratification. What I didn't really pay enough attention to was that I had to fight that, and I didn't. I allowed it to just happen, and I ate myself up to nearly 200 kilos. I was so bad off I couldn't fit into my shoes, for instance. I have a flight of 13 steps up to the front of my house, up to the door, and there were days when I was sure if there was a 14th step there I wouldn't have made it. But I was sitting down to cook. You know, that's how bad it was. I tried a few different things like the meal replacement shakes, and I mean common sense told me that they weren't going to work because it's not the psychology of a fat person to not want food, and a shake doesn't replace food. A few different things I've tried, including really strong exercise, you know, exercising to excess. And exercise is great, but it's not a weight loss. It's not an answer to weight loss. How I got onto adventures in weight loss was purely accidental. I was browsing through a bookstore at Toombul, my local shopping mall, and I just spotted this book, 7 Secrets the Weight Loss Industry Will Never Tell You. And that's not the sort of book I would buy, even though I was thinking, and why I bought that to this day, I don't know. It may have been the fact that on the back cover was a photograph of the author, Graham Park, in both conditions, overweight and after the program. And if the author hasn't had experience themselves, that's not really something I want to read about. And here was a guy who was putting himself on the cover, and maybe that was the catalyst for me buying it, I don't know. But then that book was the start of my new life. And hunger wasn't a part of the weight loss program. As part of the program I was eating all sorts of meats, beef, pork, lamb, and salmon, chicken, vegetables, a good range of everything, and in reasonable quantities. So it was only a matter of telling my brain, my body wasn't hungry. It was just a matter of telling my brain that this was sufficient to eat. So hunger never really came into it, and the plan worked fine because the food was there, the normal food, like normal people eat, not diet food. And I never, at no stage did I ever feel I was on a diet. I felt only that I was exercising some restraint, and you have to do that. Then there was the added bonus, which probably was another thing that attracted me to this plan, was that the author of the weight loss book specifically said, and the program states, that you shouldn't necessarily do more exercise than you are already doing pre-plan. So my exercise was none pre-plan, so I continued to do none, and it didn't affect me at all. When I started to want to get active again, I started walking, and I very soon got up, because I'd lost so much weight, I was back to pretty good shape. I found it no problem at all to walk for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and cover a fair distance at a good clip. But that became pretty boring, and I thought about going back to karate, which I'd done in my youth, but I figured, this old body probably isn't hard enough for that anymore. And so I started Aikido, which is a much gentler style of martial arts. And I could never have done anything like that even 12 months ago. I want to get up every morning. I don't want to go to bed at night because there must be other things I can do. I have no hesitation in leaving the car at home and, walking for half an hour to get to the shops. I suppose a lot of it is to do with the fact that I do it because I can do it now, whereas before I didn't do it because I couldn't. My goal when I started the program was to get from I think when I started the program I was down to 189.7. That was after a lot of work on my part trying to get from 193 down to 189.7. And then I figured whatever I'm doing isn't working, because I lost a little bit of weight, but it was just too hard. And that's when I started on the program. And at 189.7, I figured, because I'm a fairly big framed person and I'm tall, so I figured that 100 kilos would be a good mark for me. So that was my goal. When I got to 100 kilos, because I didn't feel as if I was on a diet, I just decided, well, let's make it another 5, because it was no effort. But I was definitely losing I think in the first week was 2.5, 3 kilos or something, which was, something you can notice. But I soon decided that you can pay too much attention to your weight over too short a period of time. So I only weighed fortnightly, and then you notice a decent difference. And noticing that difference is your incentive to go for the next fortnight. There probably won't be a magic pill. It might come one day. So the first thing you've got to do is decide that you really want to do this. In other words, until you make the move, nothing's going to happen. When you make the move, just promise yourself that you're going to stick with it for the first fortnight and see what happens. I mean, fortnight's nothing out of the rest of your life. And you will, if you stick to the plan, you will absolutely, definitely lose weight. And it won't be ounces, it'll be probably a couple of kilos.